What is up, MMA true believers? I am Jason BURGOS for Sherdog.com, and I am joined by one of the many fighters on the UFC roster who braved the perils of a global pandemic and put on a show for fans around the world and the country on May 13. On that night, he will enter the octagon for the first time since November and square off with another rising young talent in Italy's Marvin Vettori, and that man is New Jersey's own Baby K, aka Karl Roberson. Karl, thank you for the time to talk this upcoming fight in Jacksonville, my man.
Hey, how you doing, my man? Thanks for having me.
Now, I have a whole bunch of questions, but first, I wanted to know the pandemic situation at home for you in Jersey. I like we talked about a couple of minutes ago, I live in New York, so I know how hard it is. That's one of the hardest hit states, but Jersey's right there as the next hardest hit state. What has the last few months been like for you in terms of not just training, but life changes in general? And also, do you have family or friends that have been directly or maybe even indirectly impacted by the pandemic and businesses closing and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I have an aunt who passed away from the pandemic, so it impacted the family a little bit, but it happens. You gotta just live with it and learn. Like, it happens. But you know how it is. You from New York. Everybody just trying to stay close to the family, stay in contact, stay away from everybody, just stay safe.
2020 has been a bit frustrating for you so far. 2019 started off a little difficult with the Teixeira fight, but then you bounced back real strong after that. This year, you were supposed to be on the Brooklyn card, and that was changed. Then it looked like you were maybe going to be on one of these Tachi Palace cards, and then that was switched to where it is now. Having not fought since November, has this been like a frustrating year, and has businesses closing affected maybe any work you did outside of any income you made outside of fighting?
Appearances and stuff like that, yeah, it affected that. Like, a lot of fight stops, you do all that. But I'm pretty isolated. I don't really do that much. I pretty much stay to myself and my family and everything, so it didn't affect me that much. But the training, that become a little difficult because we had to work on everybody's schedule and everybody's worries and everything, so I had to keep all my training partners in mind and all that. So we had to just pretty much keep everything local, keep everything tight, keep everything small, make sure everything was clean. So that was a little bit annoying, but it is what it is, and we chose the lifestyle. And not fighting during November, it's a little frustrating, but it's just because I like to fight. I like to stay active. I like to always put my hands on people, basically. So me having to wait back to back, the yes and no's is a little annoying.
Yeah.
But I like to stay in shape anyway, kind of stay close to fight shape. So it just pretty much gave me more time to work on little things and more focus on myself. So I like the isolation a little bit too.
How much has training changed for you as you've been trying to train for these various fights? Like, I talked to Ryan Bader a couple of days ago, and before his fight was postponed, he talked about going from a camp where maybe 8 or 9 people are involved down to 4, including himself. And I talked to Brian Kelleher yesterday, and he's in New York. He said the same kind of thing. Like, his camp was really pared down to just 3 or 4 people that he know were pretty good. They were healthy and stuff like that. How has the same happened for you? And have you had to come up with unique and different ways to keep in shape? Because I'm sure a bunch of gyms are all closed in Jersey.
Yeah, I've learned to like the bike, basically. That's one of the things to keep in shape, because that little stop order really not going outside that much and not really having any contact with people. So I learned to have to like the bike, which I have new respect for bikers because this shit is real. Otherwise, the training is a little difficult. You used to be able to go to multiple different gyms, like different vibes and everything. Now you have to isolate smaller groups, like 2 to 3 people tops, make sure nobody's sick. And that's kind of frustrating because people don't always listen. So some training partners start hanging around their friends and like, no, I can't train with you because I don't know if you're sick or not. And you just see him with the Jacare case. He hasn't even been around people, and he just got cut from the fight. And that's one of my boys. He took care of me in Brazil. So my heart goes out to him and his family and all that, and hopefully he gets well. Him and Uriah, because his fight got taken too. So it's difficult, so we got to be careful.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that perfectly transitions to exactly what I was going to ask about that news, about Jacare and his cornerman being, pretty much dispensed from the building. Like, what are your thoughts about that? Because like you just said, and like you have to do, like, I'm sure he thought his cornermen were fine. They were all good. They were all kind of training together for weeks. And all three of them had it, asymptomatic, of course. Does it change how you're mentally going to do things when you get down there for this fight on Wednesday? Like, are you going to have to make sure you're always masked, always gloved with any interactions, even with your own cornerman? Because if your cornerman's sick and he gives you something, it costs you a bunch of money, and you're the one hurt by it more than anybody.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they could have not shown any symptoms, so they probably didn't even know. They could have got it before it even got real bad, and they could have just been sitting with them for the whole time. They just passed along. So you can be cautious, but you can only do but so much, and you can't go too crazy, stir crazy, because you make yourself crazy and add stress to a stressful situation.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to like stay calm and accept it is what it is and move on.
On the Brooklyn card, you were set to face Mahmoud Muradov, which, like I mentioned before, was changed to Martin Vettori. That's been rescheduled once to next week. When you got each booking, did one fight excite you more than the other?
Yeah, the Vettori fight definitely excited more. He's a bigger name. He's more my caliber, and it's moving me up in the division. Like, it's more of a staple fight. That's why they moved me up on the card, because everybody knows this fight's gonna make a bank, and we both like to fight. We're both tough. We both stand the day. We both like to show a lot of nuts hanging. If it says like, because we like to put it out there. We're going on the same path pretty much. So sooner or later we're gonna run into each other. So I'm happy it's happening now.
And I'm glad you brought it up that it's a good fight. It is a good fight. But do you think, maybe he's a little underappreciated by some fans, some media? 7 UFC fights. He's only had 2 losses to the current champion and Shoeface, both decisions. He has a draw with Amari Akhmedov, who's been great at 185 compared to what he was at 170. All those guys are ranked 2. Did you think people may not appreciate how good he is? And for you, outside of the fight with Glover, is he maybe the best fighter you faced so far in the UFC?
Outside of Glover, yeah, I can say that. He's definitely one of the top people I face, and I'm looking forward to it. But a lot of people are unappreciated in our division right now. We have such a stacked division that a lot of the younger guys are getting overlooked. So now we get to make more of a stance, because an epidemic, there's a lot going on, but we get to make a stance, we get to fight. And it's good for the people, because everybody needs to fight right now. And look, fighting is going to make everybody feel better, so.
Do those guys, like I mentioned, the fights that he didn't win in the UFC are all very different styles. So it's not like he has like this clear weakness, like, oh, he loses to strikers, oh, he loses to grapplers that are maybe good in terms of like clinching or good jiu-jitsu guys. It's all different. When looking at those fights for scouting him, do you feel there are things you can take and easily adapt for yourself and use in the fight and have success like those guys did? Or do you feel you're different? You're very different from them, just like they're different from each other, and you kind of have to strategize on your own based on your own skills.
Yeah, I pretty much, I don't really go off of other people's fight, like what they did to him. I just go off of what he does. Because we go off what people did to him. I'm not them. I don't fight the way they do. I don't fight like Adesanya. I don't fight like any of them. Me and Adesanya both came from glory, but we're both 2 different type of fighters. He more of a slick counter puncher, make you run into stuff. I'm more of an in-your-face slick. I hit you hard and I try to break you down. So we're going to see if he can take that, because I don't think he's fought anybody like me yet.
And I'm glad you also brought up like that maybe the division, certain guys in the division aren't getting a lot of love because there is so much depth. Do you feel with a win over Marvin, do you get into the top 15 rankings? Especially when, and it makes more sense for either of you get in after a win, especially when the guy ranked right now at 15 is Anderson Silva. Much respect to Anderson, but the guy hasn't won a fight in 7 years and last fought a year ago.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, I think we're the new faces. We're the other 2 bangers that come up that make noise. Like, we don't sit here, we don't try to grab, we don't try to run around, we don't just try to win decisions. We go out there and fight. And that makes it staple. So we both coming off with 2 wins. So this will be our 3rd win. Well, my 3rd win, because I'm not planning on losing at all. So it'll be my 3rd win. And I'll fight Anderson Silva. Like, I'd love to. I'll maybe break into the top 15. Like, we've been fighting for this for a while. So top 15, we start making more names. bigger names.
For a guy that's putting in that work to get into the 15, now I've heard different things from fighters. Some fighters' rankings is not a big deal until you get to the top 5. But what do you think about something like that? And again, nothing taken away from Anderson. He's a legend. He's had 1 win in 7 years. He's not fighting as much. Do you think it's like kind of like almost ridiculous that he is still ranked and guys like you and Marvin aren't ranked yet, can't make that extra money from that ranking, notoriety? Or do you get it? He's Anderson Silva. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm about to say you can't take away from him. He earned his stripes. Like he's done what he's done. Like you can't take anything from that guy. He's earned everything he's done. He's put his time in, and we still have to earn. It's almost my 3rd year in the UFC. He's a few years. He's a lot in the UFC, so I can't even compare my stature to his yet because I haven't earned it yet.
I know fighters in Jacksonville right now and they talked about how everybody has like individual workout rooms, individual saunas, but you won't get down there until a couple of days before, I'm guessing. How has weight cutting under the circumstances going on, especially in Jersey, been for you? Are you feeling good as you get closer to the fight, or have things been, far from optimal and you're just trying to make the best of a tough situation when it comes to the weight cut?
I feel good. It's a tough situation, but we didn't always have UFC. We had to cut weight before that, and it's right back to the same thing. Now that I got the information that the UFC is giving me to cut weight right, it's actually pretty easy now to do it the right way, follow the protocol, and everything will be done right.
So have you been one of those guys that's made use of the PI and all the sciences and everything, and that's what has been helping you, meal prep and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Why not? If you don't, you're stupid. Like I said, at the end of the day, you gotta be real about it. If you don't, you're stupid. If you're gonna be that hard-headed and not use the resources given to you, then you deserve any negative blast you get. Like I'm gonna take all the resources the people went to school to help me get to where I need to get. I'm gonna ask questions that way, so I know how to do stuff safely, and I'll get there fast and as easily as possible.
Now, one last question. Being, guys from the tri-state area, the 2 hardest hit states, I wanted to ask you about this because it bothers me a little bit because we have by far the most deaths, the most cases anywhere in the country. The UFC has legit COVID-19 tests, which is good. It's great that, you guys can be safe, your cornermen can be safe, be tested, and all this stuff. However, since tests are still something that is not readily available throughout the country, governors are still complaining about lack of testing. Do you feel guilt on some level? Does it feel wrong that you guys at UFC event will have fighters and people tested multiple times while maybe, first responders or essential workers may have trouble getting tests?
Do I feel bad? No. Like, it is what it is. So it is what it is. I want to get tested. So for me to feel bad, I don't want to get tested. I do want to get tested. Yeah. I got family and everything I want to keep safe too. So in that context, I don't feel bad, but I do feel bad that all these people, because I have friends in the nurses building, I have friends that do doctors and stuff like that, and they're complaining like, we don't have this and that. So I feel bad on the context that they're risking their lives and they're not getting what they're supposed to get.
Yeah. So I mean, you do care a little bit.
Yeah, I care a lot, but it's just like, hey, if I get the chance to be able to test, it's like, okay, I can test. Like I'm not gonna say no. Like I don't feel bad about getting tested. Like that'd be dumb.